Okay guys, something a bit different today. No gaming. We're actually looking at a digital audio workstation or DAW called REAPER. Now REAPER is not free, but you can download it free and you can then evaluate it for 60 days, which is what I'm doing at the moment with some friends who are in a band. We're actually in the process of evaluating this and trying different things and seeing if it's going to do what we want to do. Now, first thing I would say is there are various themes that you can download free for REAPER, but this is the default, so that's how it would appear if you just download REAPER and open it up. It should look like that, or something very similar. It could be default 4.0, like that, but I actually like a theme I downloaded, which is that one. I think the mixer looks pretty cool. So basically we've got three windows. Over here we've got the arrangement window, over here we've got the track window, and down here we've got the mixer window. Now if you right click on the mixer, you can undock it, so then you can float it around. Now I should say I'm using three screens, so at various times as windows open I'll pull them onto the main screen so you can see them, but I might also slide them off. But for now, let's dock it. So there's your mixer down there. So what can you do in REAPER? Well, I'm not a musician, I'm not a singer, I don't play an instrument apart from a little bit of piano, and I can put together something. And you know, you'll either say, wow, if you're not a musician and you did that, that's pretty clever, or you'll say, yeah, it shows you're not a musician because it's awful. Depends if you like it or not, I suppose, but music's a subjective thing. So anyway, let's go to recent projects and I'll load this project called Choral 1. Just let it load. Okay, that's a drum kit that you need, and you need to just be there. Okay, that's fine. I'll drag that window out of the way. Now look at the mixer. Now it's looking a bit more complicated. So you've got the master track over here, which is basically everything, and then you've got all these other tracks which are here, which are all part of this particular project. Now as we go through, we will be talking about how to put these tracks into folders or groups if you like, color code them, add these icons. All of that helps you see exactly which tracks are where. But down here you will see all of this, and you can name each track so that you know exactly what it's doing. Now I haven't named them all, but you can see that one is actually called Pianos because it contains two pianos, one called City Piano and one called Way Piano version 1. Now all these are what are called VST instruments or VSTI plugins. All of these ones in here are free. You can download loads, and there are thousands. I mean, if I go to my VSTIs, these are just the ones I've downloaded fairly recently. There's all sorts in there. I mean, synthesizers and drum machines and pianos and strings and wind and even choir vocals and all that stuff. It's all there. You also get with REAPER lots of plugins which are called VST. So if I go to VST and or even all plugins, you will see all of these different plugins. VST stands for Virtual Studio Technology, and VSTI is Virtual Studio Technology Instrument. So you can see the VSTIs there, or you can click on instruments, so you'll see them there, and so on and so on and so on. And we will go through how you add these instruments to tracks and what you do with them once you got there. We'll also talk about MIDI and audio, and tracks can even contain video, but we're going to be mainly talking about MIDI and audio and sends and all that stuff. Now it might all sound ridiculously complicated at the moment, but trust me, to go through it logically, it's actually very easy to do, and I managed to do this and I'm no expert, so there you go. Anyway, what I'll do is play it. It's about 4 minutes, but just have a listen. It'll give you an idea of what we can achieve in REAPER, and then we'll go through how you put something like this together. just pause a second, you'll see the master volume scale, whatever you want to call it, here is lighting up. I guess it's getting a signal because everything goes through the master, and so are these because that's where the call signal is going through. All these over here are not as yet, but you will see the drums come in, and then later on you'll see everything else come in and they'll all be going. So let's just play. Okay, so that was drums, now string solo. Okay, and now a bit of everything, I think. Far enough. Now you probably notice that there are some problems. Not least, once we got into the bit where everything is playing, this is pretty much okay because the instruments come in here and they play through that drum loop and they end before the next drum loop begins, and it fits nicely to the drum loop. Then you go here and this one is starting halfway through a drum loop, overlapping the end of that one, going into the next one, and it sounds pretty awful. And if you go along a bit further, the same thing happens here, and so on and so on. But we will be going through how to avoid things like that happening, and how you can move things around in MIDI and everything else. But another VST plugin I'd just like to mention, if I just close that project. Okay, what I'm going to do now is open a different project called Morning Light. Okay, so this is a new song. This is completely original song. We've just been playing about, writing the lyrics, and then using a VST plugin called Alter Ego, where you can type in words and it sings them back to you. Might sound ridiculous, but it does. Now the voice does sound a bit robotic, but we've got it to about the most human setting we can find so far, and we've just been playing around really, so just see what it sounds like. Okay, so it's a song about a singer who's got to go on stage and look happy because that's what you have to do when you're on stage, but she's really not feeling very happy. So let's just listen again. Lyrics go something like, another night, another show, with a fake smile on stage I go. Okay, so with a fake smile on stage I go. And then it's something like, I feel so sad, I want to cry, but in the lights you cannot hide. Something like that.
I feel so bad, I want to cry, but in the light you cannot hide.
Okay, and then I think, if I remember rightly, it's the chorus. So that was on my own, I walk late at night, will you be my morning light? Hence it's called Morning Light. So that's just a project that we've been messing about with, using this VST to actually effectively sing the words back. Yes, I know it's not perfect vocals, but it gives you an idea and you can play around and mess around with stuff and actually create some quite nice effects with it. And yeah, some people like quite robotic vocals. I mean, there is a place for them, I guess. So okay, so this is the arrangement window, this is the tracks window, this is the mixer window. You can control a lot of these instruments using what's called a MIDI keyboard. So if I just insert a track and click on the input, if I go here to input MIDI, I have a MIDI keyboard called Keystation Mini 32. So if I click that, when I press keys on the keyboard, it will play the appropriate instrument that's on that track. Very clever. What if you haven't got a MIDI keyboard? If you're not a musician, you may not have a MIDI keyboard. So you can go to Input MIDI, Virtual MIDI Keyboard, all channels. So let's do that. And in Reaper, there is actually a virtual MIDI keyboard. And there it is. Which means that if I say, oops, that's not what I wanted effects. So if I go to effects and pick, for example, let's have a piano, Keyzone Classic. We'll get a classical piano of some sort. If it loads, there we go. We've got Keyzone piano. We've got a Yamaha grand piano, we've got a Steinway. Let's go for Steinway piano. So if I hit this, that's playing the piano. But I can close that window down. And if I set record monitoring, so that you can actually hear the input, I have to arm the track for record as well. There we go. So I'm playing piano. So if I wanted to play a C major scale, I would go and then back down. So there's the C major scale. This key is known as middle C, not surprisingly, because it's in the middle of the keyboard. And you can extend this out to get more octaves. So you can go. Okay, so there you go. So if you know anything about music at all, you'll know middle C, there's another C, so that's one octave lower, that's another octave lower. And in between, if you ignore those letters on there, which are simply your QWERTY keyboard letters, so you can play it from your computer keyboard as well, the way music works is it goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C, D, E, F, G, A, B. So you can play in the key of C, let's say, So you can play an instrument from a virtual MIDI keyboard in Reaper without having to have a MIDI keyboard yourself. And it can be any instrument. It doesn't have to be the piano. I mean, you could, for example, if I remove the piano and add instead a flute, if I can find it, there it is. And now you say, hang on a minute, it's not playing anything. Okay, close it down, get our MIDI keyboard back again. Okay, if I'm clicking down here, you're not going to hear anything because a flute does not play octaves this low. So it played down to about there. But if you extend your MIDI keyboard further this way, so if you want to play that C major scale on a flute, you're going to have to do it from C5. Something like that. And if you, say, had an oboe, for example, or a deeper instrument, the deeper instrument would play down this end of the keyboard, but you wouldn't hear anything if you're hitting notes at the higher end of the keyboard. So just bear in mind which instrument you've loaded as to whereabouts you need to be clicking in order to play those particular notes. But anyway, we will go through stuff like this. So that's the basics of Reaper. That's the beginnings of something. And next time we will talk about drum loops and inserting a drum track, adding a couple of guitars and starting to build a project and see where we go with it. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it's useful. If you're experienced in music or DAWs or VST, then this is probably not for you because it's very, very basic. But if you've not used Reaper before, it can be useful as an introduction to Reaper. And if you just want to play around and make some sound on your computer and see what it sounds like, then this is probably for you. So if you enjoyed the video, hit the like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. In the meantime, take care. Bye for now.